The hero of our story is the strongest sage who once saved humanity from the monster invasion and their king. However, after an exhausting and deadly battle, he succumbed to death. Fortunately, this wasn't the end. He was reincarnated into the body of a boy 50 years later and entered the Magic Academy to regain his strength. Will he succeed in becoming the strongest again? Let's find out. Atsumu wakes up, shocked to find himself alive despite having used all of his magic. He questions his situation, unable to believe that he's still breathing. When he looks into the mirror, he's stunned by his unfamiliar appearance. At that moment, a doctor enters the room along with a nurse. She addresses him as Kusanagi, leaving Atsumu even more confused as he hears this unfamiliar name. The doctor asks him to lie back down and proceeds to check his injuries. After removing the bandages, he's astonished to find that Atsumu's wounds have completely healed. The doctor can hardly believe what he's seeing. He recalls the boy was in critical condition just a day before after a traffic accident, having lost consciousness. He wonders how the boy has healed so quickly, thinking that it could be due to holy magic. Kusanagi is puzzled to learn about the accident and reveals that his body has the ability to heal itself using holy magic. He asks the doctors if his magic has run out, but they don't understand what he's trying to convey. He tells them he was in the middle of battling monsters during the calamity. The doctor and nurse are shocked by his words. The doctor then asks the boy if he still remembers his name and the current year. Atsumu, who believes it is still 1970, is told by the doctor that his real name is Kusanagi Minato, and that the current year is actually 2022. Kusanagi is left confused, struggling to believe everything the doctor is saying. He looks at the doctor and wonders if he's telling the truth. Kusanagi notices a TV in the room, marveling at how thin it is and how clear the image appears. He then spots a calendar and confirms that it's really 2022. His shock intensifies when he sees the nurse holding a thin device, which he finds completely baffling. As confusion sets in, he begins to wonder if he's truly in the future. The doctor, noticing his reaction, provides some context about the calamity Kusanagi mentioned. He recalls that it occurred 50 years ago, but hasn't happened again since. Kusanagi struggles to believe what he's hearing and asks what happened to all the monsters. The doctor explains that it's a peaceful era now, with barely any monsters left. Kusanagi, relieved to hear the world has finally found peace, thanks God and starts smiling. However, the doctor adds that Ishami, the person Kusanagi refers to, died in the calamity 50 years ago. Ishami is remembered as a hero who sacrificed his life to save the world. The doctor doesn't believe that Kusanagi is Ishami. Kusanagi then realizes that he must have died 50 years ago and somehow been reincarnated into the body of Kusanagi Minato. He doesn't understand how this happened, though. A week passes, and Kusanagi moves into his new apartment, where he explores the room of his new identity. He feels a wave of sadness as he learns about the original Kusanagi's tragic past. His parents died when he was a child, and he was later abandoned by his foster parents and sent to a miserable boarding school. Since then, Kusanagi had been surviving off his parents' inheritance. Kusanagi wonders if reincarnation magic is a real thing, as he's never heard of it before. He begins to consider that perhaps a god is behind this, or maybe it all just happened by chance. While looking at Kusanagi's Magic Academy card, he reflects on how, back in his day, there was no such thing as a Magic Academy. It all seems so fascinating to him. Suddenly, his phone rings. He picks it up and sees a call from someone named Tadano. Completely unsure of what to do, Kusanagi decides to ignore the call and tosses the phone aside. The phone continues to ring, and a message appears from Tadano. He mentions that he knows Kusanagi has been discharged from the hospital and asks him to come back to school soon, as he's running out of money. The following day, Kusanagi attends the Magic Academy. As he enters the school, he takes in his surroundings, feeling excited about being back in school as an adult. While enjoying the moment, he notices a random student using magic to attack a dummy. Kusanagi is disappointed and wonders why everyone's magic seems so weak. He observes more students and realizes that none of them show any real skill. It's hard for him to believe. He remembers that even the new students from his time were at least 10 times stronger than these weaklings. He doubts they will ever succeed as magicians, and though the era is peaceful, he can't understand why magic has declined to such a degree. Kusanagi enters his classroom and finds his seat, feeling excited about his academic life. He wonders if he'll make any friends here. Suddenly, a red-haired student with 2 others approaches him and asks why Kusanagi ignored his texts, despite him being just Kusanagi. Kusanagi doesn't recognize him, so he politely asks his name. Tadano, now angry, kicks the table and repeats his name. He calls Kusanagi weak and worthless, but Kusanagi doesn't take him seriously. As Tadano continues, Kusanagi suddenly remembers this is the person who had been calling him earlier, assuming that Tadano must be his friend. Tadano then smiles deviously, extends his hand, and asks for money. Kusanagi, thinking he's a good friend, shakes his hand with enthusiasm, hoping they can get along. Tadano, however, becomes enraged, grabs Kusanagi by the collar, and demands money, trying to intimidate him. He assumes Kusanagi still has plenty of money from his parents' inheritance. As Tadano remembers his past self being bullied, he tries to throw a punch to put Kusanagi in his place. But just then, a blue-haired girl with a beautiful smile enters the classroom, cheerfully greeting everyone with a warm good morning. Her presence and calming smile instantly soothe Tadano, causing him to back off. Though he lets Kusanagi go for now, he makes it clear he still expects money from him. Later, Kusanagi grows irritated, but the bully eventually leaves the classroom. With the tension fading, class finally begins. The teacher starts lecturing about a historic event known as the Great Calamity, or the Final Calamity. It happened 50 years ago when terrifying monsters suddenly appeared all over the world, plunging humanity into despair. However, hope came in the form of a great sage named Ishami Atsumu. Unlike others, Ishami never gave up. He single-handedly defeated all the monsters and ultimately faced the demon god responsible for the chaos, known as the Calamity Boss. Risking his life, Ishami managed to destroy the final boss, and ever since that day, the Calamity has never returned. The teacher then asks the class a question about the great sage. The blue-haired girl from earlier raises her hand. Her name is Manhwa. The teacher allows her to answer, and with sparkling eyes, she passionately explains that Ishami was the first magician to survive the calamity. He's also the reason their academy was founded. She calls him the hero of humanity and an inspiration to magicians all over the world. The teacher confirms Manhwa's answer, adding that Ishami was indeed the first person to harness magic and is considered the strongest magician in human history. The academy was created to raise magicians who might follow in his footsteps. The teacher encourages the class to study hard and prepare for the upcoming test. Meanwhile, the protagonist, Kusanagi, listens in discomfort. Hearing everyone praise Ishami feels like a slow form of torture. He regrets joining the academy. Remembering what the doctor had told him, he assumes that magic has grown weaker over the years due to the peaceful times. Looking out the window, he finds some comfort in the tranquility of the present world and smiles to himself. As the class ends, the teacher reminds everyone about the magic power assessment exam scheduled for tomorrow. Tadano once again approaches Kusanagi, clearly amused. He asks if Kusanagi heard what the teacher said, clearly looking forward to seeing what kind of dog-tier magic he might have. Kusanagi wonders why Tadano won't just shut up and decides to leave the classroom. As he walks away, Tadano cruelly reminds him that even his parents were magicless, calling him an orphan and laughing in his face. That's when Kusanagi finally talks back, his patience wearing thin. Tadano's expression shifts. He's clearly not happy to be challenged. Kusanagi had finally had enough. After enduring Tadano's relentless insults, he lashed back with sharp words that cut deep. Tadano, now furious and unable to control himself, began activating a fire spell. The other students were shocked. Some even tried to stop him. One of them questioned if he was really about to use magic like that inside the classroom. Without hesitation, Tadano unleashed his magic, firing it directly at Kusanagi, fully intending to harm or possibly kill him. Mizuwa rushed forward in an attempt to stop it, but it was too late. As the fiery blast barreled toward him, Kusanagi stood completely still, unfazed and calm.